Hi, and welcome to Wrong Way. And today I'm going to tell you what it's like to live with a CyklonEbike VENOM. Let me tell you more about it. Wrong Way. Okay, so I've had the CyklonEbike VENOM Extreme, so the 12,600 watt e-bike, at my home for around 5 days now. And until today, so actually over 4 days, I've done around 250 kilometers on it. So I was riding it basically all the time, around 60 kilometers daily, sometimes 100, sometimes less. But I was using it pretty extensively. And that's why I wanted to make sort of a sit down, talk about video sort of thing today, because that's how I can explain to you guys what it's like to actually, sort of own a e-bike like this. And I've written everything down here so I remember all the stuff that's good and bad about the CyklonEbike VENOM. And also huge thanks to CyklonEbike for loaning me this e-bike for extended period of time for testing purposes. It's been really the thing I really needed to get a better idea on this product and test it in my environment and see how it does. And just as a spoiler, and probably if you have seen the earlier video on the CyklonEbike VENOM, it did exceedingly well. I mean, really well. Maybe first of all, also 5% discount when you order a CyklonEbike with the Wrong Way coupon. I also do get a kickback from these orders, so you also support the channel in this way. And it's important to know that in Poland, where I'm basically recording these videos, I sort of can ride on the street because the police doesn't really care about PEVs and other stuff on the road. So you have to keep in mind that depending on where you live, you are allowed or not really allowed to ride on the street with the full power. I think riding with 25 kilometers an hour, which is the first mode of this e-bike, is allowed pretty much everywhere. If it's not allowed, you can't really tell if it's pedal assisted or not. This e-bike doesn't have pedal assists, and I think it shouldn't have it because it's really dangerous with this amount of power. But it has the twist, the thumb throttle. So depending on where you live, it's legal or not legal, or safe or not safe to ride on the streets. But if you only want to ride off-road, I think there's nowhere a problem with these sort of e-bike. So let's get on to the first point of this list. It's the performance, and the performance is amazing. I mean, this thing is really, really fast. Top speed I've clocked in is around 85 kilometers an hour. I never did really a full speed test of this e-bike, but always around 70-80% where I did the top speed. Usually it tops out anywhere now around 75 to 85 kilometers an hour, and it's fast. I mean, it's really fast enough, definitely enough for the city, for off-road, and the acceleration is instant. And off the lights, there's basically no car that did hold up to me, because cars, especially fossil cars, are really slow to accelerate. They need to get their engines up in the rev, blah blah blah. I'm basically 100 meters away from cars where I just start with the e-bike, and then if the cars want to go faster above the speed limit, then they catch up to me because I don't want to go too fast on the road because it's just not safe. So the performance is great, the acceleration is great. It has the 4T winding QS205 motor, so it's between top speed and acceleration setting. It did get quite toasty in my testing, especially with a lower battery. If you do like 5-6 full acceleration runs, it can limit the acceleration quite a bit, quite noticeably. So if you want to just accelerate, just go up to the mountains, or the acceleration is the most important thing to you, not top speed, then I would recommend getting a Venom with a 5T or even 6T motor, and definitely getting hub sinks. They help out quite a lot. This was the only sort of issue that I had with this e-bike, that it tend to limit my power, especially at lower batteries, after a couple of full acceleration runs. CyklonEbike can also tune the highest temperature of the motor, of the controller, whatever, to have like less safety margin but more performance. But here it is for more safety margin, so I would like to keep it like this as well. So performance is great. We'll move on to the ride later, but acceleration, top speed, hill climbing, you saw the 35-degree steepness climb, it's really great. I mean, it's awesome. So let's move on to the design, and well, you see it. What can I tell you about it? We love it, but the great thing is that pedestrians, people, friends of mine, they love it too. I mean, it's a eye catcher. Definitely, people start asking questions about like what are the pedals for? Is it an e-bike, e-moto? It's beautiful and it's well designed. I particularly also like the geometry of this e-bike. I don't know what CyklonEbike did particularly to this model, but I really like the ride here of this Venom. And it actually, I think, turns more heads even than my electric unicycle. So if you have a e-bike like this that's bright, colorful, then you will get a lot of head turning. I mean, a lot. It's really a lot. In combination with my backpack, that's also red, and the bike that is red, yeah, a lot of it's a head turner, and it's beautiful. So a thing that is not so nice is the maneuvering in buildings, or at all, getting off the bike. It's quite heavy. I mean, it's heavy for an e-bike, it's light for a motorcycle. So I think it weighs around 60 kilograms, and maneuvering it out of my flat to go down outside on the street is tricky. I mean, I did learn some techniques to make it easier. I usually just turn on the first mode, not let it spin out. I'm really scared of that. I stay on the bike, open the doors. It's manageable, but the handlebar is also super wide. I will blend in the width of the handlebar now. You can change it for a narrower one, but not really sure if you want to do it, because it's really nice to have a wide handlebar on an e-bike like this. But maneuvering it in and out of buildings, if you live in a flat, it's quite tricky. It's just something you have to keep in mind. A unicycle or a scooter would be way easier to do that. And all in all, also getting off the e-bike and just transporting it somewhere, or just casually strolling it around, it's heavy. It's not as easy as, again, a unicycle or a electric scooter. And then this time I also really did notice the lack of the kickstand. And CyklonEbike thankfully already has kickstands available in their offer, so don't think about it, just get it with a kickstand. It's really hard to sometimes find a good place to lean the bike against something, and the handlebars are also really wide, so you either lean it on the pedals, or you have to turn the handlebar, or you have to lean it against something that is lower to the ground. It's a hassle, and I think that a kickstand should be necessary and available for every Venom, which it is, and sadly this one doesn't have it. So I really didn't notice the lack of a kickstand. It wasn't the best. The seat also did suck a bit. I mean, it's really hard. Yeah, my ass did hurt after a lot of riding, quite a bit. I don't usually even use a seat, so that's probably also why it is, but every person that I gave the bike to just have a small ride was telling me that the seat is really hard. So I will show you the seat now. This is what it looks like. I wouldn't advise to get it. Sorry. So the bike came also with a 6-amp charger, and usually it did charge quite a bit faster than I needed. So Usually I did around 60-kilometer trips or 40-60-kilometer trips. Then I would charge it, stay at home for around 4 or 5 hours, and usually it would get it up to 100%. I never did also discharge it to 0%. I did get it down to around 30% once after 60 kilometers of really, heavy abuse. So the range should be also, the minimum should be around probably not 60, probably 80-90 kilometers. But if you drive really carefully with, even with pedal assist, I think 250 kilometers is definitely accessible. But with the 6 amp charger, I felt like this was totally enough. I don't know, you can also get a 10 amp charger, but then they're like really big. Maybe get a big one and a small one. Well, the thing I want to say is charging is good. The charging speed is fast. No need to complain, it's good. And another thing connected with charging is that it has this huge 3,500 watt-hour battery, and I never really felt like I have range anxiety. And slowly I'm getting it with my Godway MSS, which has basically half the battery. So I would go to one part of town and the next part of town. I always do carry a charger just in case, but actually I never used it. So I always had enough battery to go basically anywhere in town, and it was a really good feeling to have this big battery. When it comes to the accessories and features of this e-bike, I really like the lighting. I felt like it's good enough for riding in the night, obviously in the daylight as well. It has 3 modes, and sometimes if I would go to a pedestrian / bicycle crossing, I would turn on the third mode, which is the flickering mode. It just, it's like a strobe mode, and this really makes you stand out, and cars will slow down then for you if you go over the pedestrian / bicycle crossing. The light with 3 diodes is also totally enough. If you want even more lighting, you can get 2 of those, which is really cool. It also has good rear lighting with brake lights. When it comes to lighting, I think it's just good. I mean, there's nothing to complain about. It sadly doesn't have a bell, so I had to just mount on the handlebar a bell accessory. So this is what I had to do. It also has a reverse gear, which came in really handy a lot of times, and the mode selector is also really useful. I basically was switching between the 25 km/h top speed and the max mode most of the time. The middle mode, didn't really use it. Maybe if you want your colleague or your friend to drive it, maybe then you should select the middle mode. It's like 50% power or something like that. I also really did like the screen. It's really well visible in the night. In the broad daylight, it's, well, not the best thing. You have to look down, and it doesn't really have the contrast to see well in broad daylight. But if you go off-road, then who cares? But on the streets, I found it to be like not as well visible in broad daylight like it is in the night. The display also shows you the battery percentage, the voltage of the system, the speed. There are also actually a couple of screens which you can select. I didn't know about that. So there's several screens that show you each cell group voltage and other things. So yeah, useful. I don't really use it that much, but I'm sure that a lot of you guys would appreciate such a screen with more parameters and diagnostics. A feature I didn't like that much is the key. So the Cyclone e-bikes usually change their keys quite a lot, so I don't know which key you would get on your e-bike, but mine was really small, like really fiddly, and it was quite bothering to. I always had to get my gloves off to just, press the key. The buttons were small, and yeah, I would probably like a regular key more, which I could, just take out of my pocket and just, put into the e-bike. It's good because it has an alarm. But on the other hand, the alarm is not that loud in this particular model, and you always had to press unlock and then the thunder button to activate it. It's just not one button, it's a 2-button process, but whatever. You can get this e-bike also with GPS location services, so this this will make you feel much safer if you just lock the bike somewhere with a U-lock. The alarm also triggers whenever somebody touches the bike, so this is pretty cool as well. But the key fob once again. I wish it was a regular key or a keyless go system that when you come close the bike just activates, or maybe an immobilizer. That's also what the CyklonEbike uses. Once again, the key a bit fiddly, not really my favorite. The bike also does come with standard Mudhugger mudguards, but I found especially the rear mudguard to be just not long enough. I mean, my back was quite dirty. My backpack, the Bumblebee backpack, was sort of used as a mudguard for my jacket. So yeah, I mean, if you go off-road, you would get dirty anyways, but to use it on the street or to go back and forth to work or make long trips, I would definitely like to see some improvements on the rear mudguard. And when it comes to the front mudguard, well, it's enough. I didn't really see any issues with that, especially because the bike is quite wide and all of the dirt gets on the controller cover. So the bike gets really dirty. So if you want to clean it up after rain, it's quite a bit of work. It's not that much as on a electric motorcycle, but definitely more than on an electric scooter or electric unicycle. So what I'm trying to say is the bike gets really dirty in rain and the rear mudguard is a bit too short. That's a thing I would like to definitely get improved. But the thing I was particularly amazed is the ride, and boy does this thing ride well. It's I mean, it has a 200mm front D&M shocks and the rear 240, I believe, a rear damper, and I didn't actually adjust it at all. It was perfect like I got it. And you can go over speed bumps at 60-70 kilometers an hour and you basically don't feel it that much. It's amazing. It's such a big jump from electric unicycles and scooters to ride this thing on the street or off-road. It's just so much more stable. It has 19-inch wheels at the front. The tire is 19 by 2.75, and the rear wheel is 18 inches, and the tire is 18 times 3. 18 by 3. So if you go fast, you really have to lean into the turns to make the turn, and it's a great feeling. It's just way more stable than scooters and electric unicycles. That's a big difference I found. It isn't maybe as nimble when you're going slow as a scooter, but at the same time, going in the rain, in the mud, in the forest, like we were doing it a couple days ago, it's just like a tank. It goes over everything without even without even the smallest hint that it struggles. It's very planted to the ground. The tires are also really grippy. I like them a lot. They're also rated up to 150 kilometers an hour, I believe. So you're also safe on the speed side of things. They also make this cool whine or whooshing sound when the bike comes by. It's really cool. The bike is totally silent, so there's no sound at all from the controller or from the motor. And yeah, tires are really grippy, really good for turns. I really enjoyed them in the city as well as off-road. I think it's just a good selection. If you wanted to go into sand or just really hardcore off-roading, you should definitely invest in the Shinko tires, which have a way thicker thread. But for the usual a bit of off-roading and a bit of city riding, this should be totally enough. And the bike isn't too soft either. It's good for turns. It does, sit down a bit when you accelerate a lot, but it's not too soft and it doesn't bottom out either. And the good thing about the ride as well is that it's just so accessible. I mean, I let my friends try it out as well. I let Jacek try it out, which, by the way, led him to thinking about selling his 010X. And I let Martin drive it, a couple other friends, Peter and Jarek. And the good thing is that the power is just really accessible. It's not like you press the throttle and you're just off into the sunset. It's hard to describe because it's good to ride slowly and it's really nice to hammer it and accelerate a lot. And the throttle while it is really responsive, it's also set in a way that, you know, the first couple of, you know, millimeters or centimeters you're turning the thumb throttle, it's just really subtle and soft, and the bike is really accessible. But then if you hit it really hard, then it's just goes. And from the, you know, feedback I heard from my friends, they also really love that, you know, the power is just so accessible and you don't feel the speed at all, and it feels really safe. Yeah, that's really cool. And connected to that is also brakes. It has the 200mm floating rotors by Hope and the Magura MT5E brakes front and rear. I think that's plenty enough stopping power. Jacek did say that he didn't feel like it's enough. I think it's actually enough. If you want more stopping power, you can get the twin hubs up in the front, so this would give you twice as much stopping power. And the brakes also work really easily. They're hydraulic brakes, everything that you would expect from these sort of brakes. The regen is also something I did like, and sometimes it's really hard to, you know, tune in the regen to work nicely. So it doesn't work pretty much at all when it's fully charged, and it should be like that because otherwise you would burn the controller. But after, you know, 70%, 80%, you get more and more of the regen, but it's not hard, it's not too harsh. It's really just slows you down a bit and you feel it turn on, but it's not too hard, and well, it's just well dialed in. So the regen here, I really like it, better than a lot of scooters, and yeah, better than a lot of mopeds actually. So regen, yeah, I like it a lot. Next thing I wanted to talk about is also that the bike is 100%, you know, waterproof. I mean, it's not submergible, shouldn't do that, but when you're riding in the rain, well, there's no trouble at all. I was riding it during a, you know, semi-thunderstorm, a lot of rain, nothing happened to it at all. And after these 250 kilometers of riding, 4 days, basically, actually just 3 days, I was riding so much, I will start talking with CyklonEbike to just have it always here, because it's just so easy to travel across the city on an e-bike. It's just so fast, so planned. Don't get me wrong, I won't be giving up EUCs anytime soon, but it's just such a different mode of transportation, which I highly encourage you to try out, and I will start thinking of getting one as well. They're super expensive, but yeah, I think that's just, you know, how much they're worth, I guess. So yeah, I really like it. So yeah, if you're still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.